Hi guys! I am so sorry about the length of time it took me to post another video. I've just been super busy and I just haven't had the chance, so I'm really sorry about that. I want to do a series of Peyote Stitch rather. And today I'm going to start with flat even count Peyote Stitch, which I think is the easiest of them to learn. So that's what I'm going to start with today. I have two colors of size 8 cylinder beads, also known as delicas. They're this kind of bluish gray color and black. I have my needle, or my fire line on my needle already, and I also have a random color stop bead. Doesn't matter what size, shape, whatever, just need something to stop the beads from sliding off the end of my thread. Okay, so you start by putting your stop bead on, string it, slide it nearer to the end, and then coming from the tail end, this is my tail here, you stitch back through your bead and just pull it tight, and it forms a loop around your bead, which can easily be removed later. And let me just measure and see how long this is. Oops, this way. And I want it roughly about 8 to 9 inches from the end of my thread, and it's just about 9.5, which is fine, whatever, not being finicky here. Right, so I'm going to create some sort of striped pattern here. So I'm going to pick up 2 black beads, 4 of my blue beads, and 2 more of my black beads. So I have 8 in total. So with flat even count, the resulting work is flat, and you have to start with an even number of beads. So it doesn't matter if you want to start with 4, 6, 8, whatever, as long as it's an even number of beads. So just let those slide all the way down to my stop bead, and now you see why I have a stop bead, so it doesn't, fall off the end of the thread. And you start by picking up 1 bead, and I'm going to skip that very last bead here and sew through the one next to it. And guys, have you noticed there are no crickets in the background? I live in the Caribbean, I'm sorry. I don't even notice them, but I watched the last video, I was like, oh my god, where did those come from? Okay. Yes, I'm doing it in the daytime now, so hopefully that helps a bit. Right, so now I pick up a blue bead and I skip the very next bead and stitch into the next bead. So when you're doing a pattern like this, well, it kind of depends on your pattern, but if you're doing this same straight pattern that I'm doing, you just pick up the color of the bead that you're going to stitch into. So I'm going to skip this next blue bead and I'm going to stitch into that one. So I need to pick up another blue bead. And I just pull it tight. The first couple of rows is the most difficult to start, kind of have to work with your beads a bit. And then I'm going to skip this next black one, and I'm going to sew through the last black one. So I pick up a black, and I sew through the last bead on that row. So if you're paying close attention, you'll notice that my bead work has kind of, some of my beads have kind of been displaced. So I now have some that are a little bit higher than the others. You see that? Right. So these ones are sitting a little bit above the others are called the high beads, and those are really what you're going to use to create the future rows. You're going to stitch into those high beads. So let's continue and you'll see what I mean. So now I'm going to be stitching into a black, so I want to pick up a black. I'm going to skip that last bead that I'm coming out of, and I'm going to sew into that next black bead. And just keep pulling, tight. And I'm going to stitch into a blue, so I pick up a blue, and see, you're only stitching into those beads that are sitting just a little bit higher than the other ones. Yep. And I'm going to stitch into another blue, so I pick up a blue and go through there. And now finally stitching into a black, so I pick up a black, and you skip that last one there, that lower bead there, and sew through the last one. So now you have a couple of rows. Yay! So I'm going to keep going, skip that last bead, we're sewing into now this high bead. And now we're sewing into the blue one, so we pick up blue one, and by now you should be able to see, the pattern and kind of follow along with which beads, what color you need to take up and sew through, and all of that should be coming together. It's really a very simple stitch to learn. And I mean, you don't have to stick to just plain old stripes like what I'm doing. You can do several different colors. You can, you can do stripes, but you can do different colors. You can alternate. Sorry, I just created a knot in my thread. Can you see? It's really easy. Just tug it. Yeah, there we go. You can do stripes. You can do... I mean, honestly, there's so many variations with Peyote Stitch. It's just limited by your imagination, really, and your creativity, and, how much confidence you have that you can complete a pattern. Okay, so this is really simple, just rhythmic stitch. You don't have to think much about it unless you're doing a really complicated pattern, and I'm not here. So guys, if you want to check out, I have a blog as well called the Bead Club. This is kind of my video version of my written blog. So I did a post on flat even count Peyote Stitch, and I'm doing a video here because everybody learns differently. Some people like written instructions, some people prefer videos, some people use both, to kind of help reinforce what they read. It's always nice to have a visual. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna try to keep up the videos and the posts and not get caught up in what I've been doing otherwise. I've kind of been on a soap kick recently. I've taught myself how to make soap, and I've been going crazy over that. But I can't stay away from my beads for long, so I'm back here now. It's not that I haven't been beading. I have been. I actually have a couple projects somewhere around here that I can show you. One of them is actually a Peyote Stitch that I did. It is it flat even count? I think it is, but yeah, it is. Sorry, I'm out on my patio. It's gorgeous today. It's very windy. I just heard a bird fly behind me. Got a little distracted. Well, my patio is kind of enclosed with shutters, so the bird should stay out. You never know though. So you guys can see the pattern I'm creating is really simple. It kind of reminds me of a watch band actually. Have you ever seen watch bands like this? It's really rhythmic. So easy to get into. It was kind of a stitch that I do if I just want to kind of relax my brain and do beading at the same time, because it's so simple. Sorry, I'm just checking to make sure you can actually see what I'm doing still. Alright, I think I'm going to stop here. I'm not actually making a bracelet. This is more of a how-to kind of video. Maybe I'll find something that really interests me and do it later as another video. I don't know. Or maybe I'll just finish this one and then add on a part B or something. I haven't made up my mind yet. I just felt really bad that I hadn't posted a video in so long. I'm gonna just finish this row. And I'm just gonna show you a couple options for a class that you might want to do. There it is. So pretty. The black is kind of nice and glossy with the matte blue gray color. Right, I have here this multi-strand class. This could be a good option. Obviously, you might need a bigger one. That's just kind of what I had laying around here close by, so I thought I'd show it to you. But these are these kind of slider clasps that just have this groove on one side and sorry. Can't even figure out how to put it back together. It's really simple, I promise. So that's one option, and these do come longer. They're this is a multi-strand clasp. This has 2. There's some 3, 4, 5, goes on. And then there's also this option. This is just like a crimp end that you slide your beadwork into. Maybe if you wanted to, you could put a little glue in there first. It's up to you. And then you kind of just flatten it with your flat nose pliers or whatever pliers you had on hand. I prefer the flat nose because it gives it a little bit more surface area. And just in case you don't know, this is what I mean. Flat nose. It's a bit of a broader square tip. It just, I find it easier to use to avoid leaving those pliers marks or dents, or because I think something like this, the chain nose, would kind of just leave some scratches and dents in it that I don't want there. Yeah, so you can put that on, and then you can just put your regular clasp on using a jump ring. You can do a beaded clasp, and actually what I think I'll do is show you how to turn this into a tube as I'm doing it here. So the stop bead, see, it's just tug it and it comes right off. It's really simple. You have this tail here. What you can do if you were gonna create like a toggle clasp, this was the end of my bracelet. I create a little loop using that. I'm gonna show you how to end your thread. You can stitch back down your beadwork and then kind of catch a thread, creating those half hitch knots. I'm really careful to say that. I say it wrong every time. catch the thread under there, pull a loop, slip it through, and pull. And then, as I said, every time you create a knot, you stitch into a different bead, kind of tug that in there. So let's do that again. Put my needle down through the beadwork and kind of, it's not always as easy as you think. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Oh, come on. Ah. Catch the thread, pull a loop, and create a knot. So, and then you pull it into a different, alright. And you can make as many knots as you feel comfortable with. I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just trim that thread. My bead zapper, sorry, my thread zapper, I'm completely kerfuffled now I'm talking. It wasn't working. I had to get a new one. I was so desperate for a new one because, I mean, honestly, it's really true what they say. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Because it wasn't, my old one wasn't working. And when I checked, I realized that my battery had started kind of eroding inside of it. And it was, ugh, it was a mess and I couldn't save it. I was so sad. So I had to get a new one. Because it's just not the same using scissors or thread cutters when you're accustomed to doing that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to thread my needle. Doesn't seem to be working out very well. Oh, go in. I know, right? My fingers are not working very well now that I have a camera on me. I'm just gonna use my pliers. Flatten the end a bit. Now see who's the boss. And apparently the thread still is the boss because it's not going in. Ah! There you go! Success! Oh my goodness. That only took, you know, several years off my life. Okay, so we have our thread coming out of the end of our work. And if you notice, on one end we have these raised ends, our high beads, black, blue, blue, black, starting from the very end. On the other end, notice that first bead is a low bead. So if you look at them together, I don't know if you can see that, I hope so, they kind of slot right into one another. It's cool, isn't it? So if you wanted to do your own beaded toggle clasps using Peyote Stitch, you can create a, you know, bit of a shorter version of this. Maybe stop right about there. Just enough to bend it into a tube. So I wasn't actually planning on doing this, so it's a bit longer than I would use if I was making a beaded toggle. But I just thought of it, so I thought I'd show you at the same time. So you stitch down that first high bead and you zigzag, and then you stitch down the next side, and then you stitch the other way. So you go left, right, left, right, left, right. And see how that just kind of went over there? And you stitch right, left, and just work your way across the top there. Right, oops, left, and right. And now you notice there's nothing connecting these last two beads here. It's still loose. So what you need to do now, I'm just making sure you can see what I'm doing, is come back through that very last bead, pull it tight, down the middle, to the left, And I mean, from this point, it doesn't really matter which bead you stitch through, because you could go through that one or that one, but you just needed to get those end beads stitched together. Yep, and you've just created a circle, or well, cylinder of peyote stitch. So you can imagine if this was a slightly shorter strip of beads, that you would have gotten a nice tight, tube that you can then use as a clasp. Wow, the wind just picked up. And then, as I was showing you before, catch a thread. And make your knot back through your beadwork. Oh, yeah, sometimes you have to fight with it a bit. Yep, and that's it. It's really easy flat even count peyote stitch. So you can make a whole strip of that to your desired length. If you wear a 7.5 inch bracelet, you can do about a 7-inch strip and then add your whatever type of clasp you want. You know, the two versions, the two options I gave you. You know, or your beaded toggle clasp using the flat even count peyote stitch that you just learned. I hope that helped with anybody who's trying to learn flat peyote stitch, flat even count peyote stitch, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.